Welcome to this short presentation on PhoneWare's migration tool from legacy Nortel Systems to the Avaya Communication Manager. For the purposes of this demonstration, I will refer to the Nortel legacy systems as Avaya Blue and the Communication Manager as Avaya Red. So let's start by looking at the steps involved in migrating telephones from Avaya Blue to Avaya Red. First, we need to select the telephones we want to migrate, and we can choose all the telephones on the source telephone system or just a selection. Next, we need to select the transformation profile, which will determine how telephone features on the Avaya Blue system will be matched with telephone features on the Avaya Red system. Finally, we are ready to migrate the telephones. Now let's look at each of these steps in more detail. And we'll start by selecting the telephones we want to migrate. This is the telephone administration screen in PhoneMaster, where we can see how telephones on the Avaya Blue telephone system are configured. If we select an individual telephone from the list, we can see exactly how that telephone is configured, including key features, class of service, and identifiers. You'll notice I have included a telephone called Avaya Blue in the list, and we'll monitor the features on this telephone to ensure that they have been migrated successfully. Now let's take a more detailed look at our demonstration telephone. It has a primary extension number of 5540, 2 auto dial buttons and a Make Set Busy button. Its identifiers include the name Avaya Blue and it's in department migration. We've also included a room number of 106. Its class of service features include the access restrictions conditionally told denied and network class of service 0. Now let's take a look at the telephone migration screen. Here we select the telephones to be migrated. For the purposes of this demonstration, I've created a group of telephones with a department called Migration, so for convenience I can quickly select these phones to be migrated. Just to recap, we've now selected the telephones we want to migrate and had a brief look at how those telephones are configured. The next step is to select the transformation profile, which determines how the features are transformed during the migration process. The first thing we must do with our transformation profile is map the telephone types on the Avaya Blue telephone system to telephone types on the Avaya Red. In this example, we will be migrating some I2002 telephone types to 9640s. To do this, we must select the I2002 on the set type list, and from the drop-down list of Avaya Red telephone types, we can select the 9640 model. The next step is to look at how key features on our source telephone will be transformed. If you remember, on our test telephone named Avaya Blue, we had some auto dial keys and a Make Set Busy key. Here we are going to translate the auto dial key into a speed dial key and the Make Set Busy key into a Do Not Disturb key. Next we'll look at the access restrictions, which determines the dialing privileges of each individual telephones on the Avaya Blue and the Avaya Red. On the Avaya Blue telephone system, the access restriction is a combination of the access restriction class of service, the network class of service, and the trunk group access restriction. On the Avaya Red telephone system, access restrictions are implemented through COR, which is class of restriction, and COS, class of service. Our test telephone was conditionally told denied with a network class of service of 0 and a trunk group access restriction of 1. I'll translate these to a COR of 1 and a COS of 1 also. You can also select identifiers to be migrated, such as name, department, and room number. Now that we have our transformation profile completed, we are ready to migrate some telephones. Finally, we will check that everything is in order prior to migration. We've selected the test profile which we created for migration, and we have 5 telephones selected in the migration group. Now that all is left to do is to click the Migrate button. All communication with the Avaya Red telephone system is done through the Application Enablement Services API, or AES server. The Migration Monitor outlines the status of the migration. You will notice that telephones that have been successfully migrated appear in green. If a telephone failed to migrate for any reason, it will be highlighted in red. And that's the migration completed. Let's inspect our test telephone on the Avaya Red telephone system to ensure that all the features were transformed successfully. To do this, we will use the administration module of the Avaya Communication Manager. Here we can see all stations currently programmed on the Avaya telephone system. 5 telephones selected for migration have been successfully created on the Avaya Red telephone system. Among them is our test telephone Avaya Blue. As you can see, the name has transferred successfully. It has extension number 5540. It is the model type 9640 as per our transformation profile. Its class of service is 1, as is its class of restriction. And the room number is 106. If we take a more detailed look at the telephone, we can see that the keys have also migrated successfully. As we can see, we have 2 auto dials and a do not disturb. And that's the migration process completed. We only migrated 5 telephones today, but the same process could be used to migrate 500 telephones or even 5,000 telephones. Thank you for taking the time to look at this presentation.